Pomona Alumni Association presentation. And I've got something on my screen. Here we go. On Retirement Life Planning 101. I'm Tom Moss, and I'll be your host for this presentation. As we proceed through this presentation, you may end up with some questions that you'd like to have us expand on. We will be using the chat feature for you to post your questions. So please feel free, if they do come up, to post your questions into the chat area. At the end of the presentation, we'll walk through as many of the questions you have as possible. And again, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Let me introduce myself to you and my background. I am currently retired. In fact, I retired in May of 2018. Prior to retirement, I was president and CEO of Worth Lewis & Company, a wholesale distributor of cabinet hardware, surfacing products, machinery, and coatings serving the Western United States with over 20 locations. I joined the company in 1984 as an operations manager and became CEO in 2001. I received my Bachelor of Science degree in business management at the University of La Verne in 1991 and my MBA from Cal Poly Pomona in 1996. Both degrees were achieved mid-career. I am currently the president and a board member of the Cal Poly Pomona Alumni Association and have been involved with the association for over 15 years, originally starting with the College of Business chapter and eventually serving with the Alumni Association at large. We have a very, very active alumni association, very engaged with our students, our faculty, and fellow alum at a variety of levels. If you do have an interest in getting involved at a leadership level with the board or our chapters, please feel free to reach out to Melissa or Andrea and at our Alumni Affairs offices. We would definitely like to have a chat with you. So tonight we will talk about a few things. The first thing we'll talk about is, what is your perception of how you will spend your time in retirement? We'll also talk about some truths based on data about the reality of retirement. And then we'll speak a little bit of time on a retirement life plan. I'm sure many of you have put a plan together around savings, a 401k, and maybe even have had a financial planner help you with all the financial stuff. We will not be discussing the financial side of retirement planning tonight. Tonight's conversation really is about retirement life planning. So let me ask you a question. What is your perception of how you will spend your time in retirement? If you do have a pen and paper close by, I would encourage you just to write a quick note about what your thoughts are. You'll be able to compare those thoughts to the presentation down the road here. This presentation should last, I'm thinking probably around 45 minutes, and then we can shift to some of the questions you have. Again, be sure to use the chat button to enter in your questions, and we'll do our best to go through those. The seminar tonight closes at 6:30. But we'll hang in there for probably another 15 minutes afterwards if we need to, if there's a lot of questions. So what was your picture about retirement? Well, most marketing material paints a picture of retirement as being blissful, no worries. And finally, you can take a deep breath because all of your troubles are gone. Some may have a picture of being able to finally relax from the hustle and bustle of life. With life so busy, we see ourselves sitting, relaxing, reading, snoozing. It's like sitting on a dock of the bay, watching the time go away. Kind of sounds like a song, doesn't it? We may also paint a picture of no stress. Many see their work as the main source of stress in their life. There are project deadlines, dealing with that upset customer, maybe even that upset employee, missing the important flight. Yes, this may be your current situation, and it's easy to believe that retirement will be the absence of stress in your life. Many of you are probably ready to enjoy the leisurely activities now that you'll have time on your hands to go fish, do cycling, kayaking, hikes, walks, runs, and you can do it all at your own pace. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Or maybe it's golf, pickleball, or tennis you enjoy. Many plan on spending their time with these activities 7 days a week. In fact, some folks sell their homes and move into senior communities where these activities are prevalent every day. And then there are probably some of you that are adventurous and you're looking forward to those adventures, vacationing in foreign lands, learning foreign cultures. I've even heard of some folks buying an RV and taking their first year of retirement to travel around the country. Well, it does sound wonderful, doesn't it? And I'm ready to be signed up. You probably are too. And by the way, I do believe that many of these pictures can be a reality in retirement. There's nothing wrong with them. The only thing is, by themselves, these things may fall short of what is required for a successful transition and fulfilling life in retirement. So what are some of the truths of the data about the reality of retirement? Well, there is another side that many newly retired experience. I'm not saying that you'll experience any of these things, but it is helpful to be aware of them so you can plan around them. We'll take a look at some of the data around retirement and then have a conversation about steps you can take to minimize the pitfalls and transitions into your fulfilling retirement. It's common to have a sense of euphoria immediately after retiring, but within a few months, depression can set in, especially if you've not planned for your retirement. Many who were forced to retire due to their age and perhaps even a company downsizing are even more at risk for depression. A study published by the Journal of Population Aging found that those who were retired were about twice as likely to report feeling symptoms of depression than those who were still working. The Mental Health Foundation says that 1 in 5 retirees experience depression. And some of this is tied up to a loss of self-identity. So what are some of the signs to look for in depression? Well, Nancy Schimmelfennig's article titled "How to Deal with Depression After Retirement" lists 10 possible signs of depression to be aware of. First is the sense of feeling sad, depressed, or just empty. Number 2 is losing interest in the things you used to enjoy do. Number 3 is feeling irritable and restless. 4, having problems getting to sleep or waking up in the morning. 5, having changes in appetite or weight. 6, having problems with thinking, making decisions, or remembering things. 7 is feeling tired all the time. 8 is feeling worthless or excessively guilty. 9 is feeling helpless or hopeless. And 10, thinking about death or suicide. This is a pretty complete list, and of course there may be other factors that contribute to depression that's experienced. This is a tough topic to talk about, suicide. And really, it's interesting that most people don't even bring it up to those of us who are 65 and older. I know when I think about suicide, my attention moves towards teen suicide and those in early years of crisis. Sadly, the suicide rate among those who are 65 and older has been on the increase over the past 10 years and now exceeds the rate of teen suicide. Comparing data from 2010 to 2018, those who are 65 or older have seen an increase of 17.5% in suicides per 100,000. And those that are of ages 65 to 69 have seen a 20.4% increase. And this is all according to the CDC web-based injury statistics query and reporting system. Transitioning to retirement or life after work is a life-changing event. And it really should not be managed for on a casual basis. There are many factors leading to senior suicide: depression, substance abuse, social isolation, gender politics and socialization, pain and physical disabilities, poverty, according to seniormatter.com, which is an online source for senior caregivers. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration further adds factors including prior suicide attempts, marked feelings of hopelessness, declining role function, family disorder losses, and inflexible personality. In many ways, one of the key benefits you'll be looking forward to in retirement is having free time in your schedule. Just thinking about it relieves stress and relaxes you. Before, retirement life is very busy with work, family chores, and a long to-do list, and perhaps even preparing for your retirement. Life is about keeping things moving forward, and complaints about not having time for yourself. The first few weeks of retirement, well, it's great. It's like a vacation. You can relax, read a book, and even take a vacation. Then eventually reality settles in, and that life has gone from 100 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. The pitfalls of not planning for this transition can include depression, boredom, and lack of purpose. This transition is most dramatic among those of you who have held professional positions where your time was full both day and night with meetings and activities. This is why many retirees return to work just after a few months of retirement. Many say the solution is to fill up your empty time with activities like golf, take up a new hobby, do charity work, spend time with the grandkids. And though these activities do have value, just picking things without any intentionality is kind of sad. It's like being a spectator at a game versus a player in the field. You can watch life go by, or you can take a different approach and be intentional. When I catch up with a friend or an acquaintance I've not spoken to for a year or more, I'm often asked about what's keeping me busy since I've retired. As a former CEO, while working, my life was very busy with meetings, projects, teams, suppliers, customers, employees, and travel. Many times leaving my house at 4 a.m. and getting home at midnight. My work life was very busy, and to establish balance, I had to put in place boundaries on my time and energy. I had to do it for my sake, my family's sake, my health, both spiritually, mentally, and physically. It's easy to fall into a trap of filling up your time with many activities, and like I said earlier, without intention. It's just filling up time. Compared to 25 years ago, divorce rates have doubled for those over 50 years of age, while other age categories have seen a decline. This is known as gray divorce. In an article by Brett Colson titled "Gray Divorce, the Complete Guide," there are several key contributing factors recognized in gray divorce. Let me discuss a few of them with you. First is finances. It seems that the closer you get to retirement, the greater impact financial blunders can have on your future. Next is infidelity. Unresolved relational issues in marriage can sometimes lead to extramarital affairs, destroying your marriage. And next is our addictions. With a sense of loss of control, some turn to alcohol, drugs, pornography, gambling, which are more accessible with more time on your hands. Next is the empty nest syndrome. Now there's just the two of you, and you find out that you really don't like that person you're with any longer. So what's the good news? Well, I know that what I've been talking about sounds pretty depressing, doesn't it? So let's talk about some good news here. Let's talk about being intentional, purpose and fulfillment, time management, friendships, bucket list, grandparenting, health, mentoring, and retirement life plan. This is the part of the presentation that I think you'll find most intriguing and most helpful as you work towards your retirement life plan. What does it mean to be intentional? Well, being intentional is being deliberate. You willfully acted upon the matter. It's also about purpose. What am I all about? We'll talk more about purpose in the next slide, but being intentional also means you put some thought and have a plan in mind. It's my recommendation you have a written plan that is summarized in less than 2 pages. I think 1 is even better. You have to take time and reflection to think and consider the elements of your plan. And it's good to visit and recalibrate your plan on a regular basis. Last, define the expected outcomes of your plan. Perhaps you've included some volunteer work at Cal Poly Pomona. Or write down that you'll attend 4 alumni events this year and discover how you can plug into Cal Poly Pomona. If there is a silver bullet related to a successful retirement, purpose and fulfillment is that bullet. Much of the potential retirement pitfalls we discussed earlier center on the absence of purpose. In my opinion, there is a direct link between our purpose and our self-identity. For those of you who are engulfed in your careers, I would imagine that's probably most of you here, retirement is a major life transition. If your identity is tied up in your current role, when you retire, it will be like the rug has been pulled out from underneath you. Being thoughtful and intentional about your retirement life plan in advance of retiring can greatly help you with this transition, as you will have processed, or at least begin to process, a plan for your retirement life, which is centered on your life purpose. I'm pretty confident most of you use a calendaring app of some kind. Perhaps it's Microsoft Outlook, Apple iCalendar, Google Calendar, and I imagine it's pretty full with meetings, activities, and perhaps a vacation or two. And probably many of you can't wait to dump the calendar when you retire and let the day flow with ease. That may work for some of you, but it's likely that most of you will function better under some form of structure. I know that I do. And it's helpful as you can take those intentional activities and plug those into your calendar. 2 big differences though. First, you'll likely find that there is some open time slots, and that's great. You can learn to enjoy having an afternoon free without any commitments. Second, you are the one who drives your calendar now, and you no longer are under the restraints of an employer. Bottom line is, keep a calendar, but it's probably going to be lighter than when you were employed. One common theme I've heard from several friends early in their retirement is that many of their work friends no longer seem to reach out to contact them. A common phrase is, boy, now I really know who my friends are and who they aren't. And I've heard this so many times. Moving into retirement is a transition on many fronts, including personal relationships. Author Robert Laura cites research indicating that we have an average of 22 high-quality face-to-face interactions with people on a daily basis. He further states in retirement, this interaction is cut in half, which is a surprise to many people. According to Brent Green of the HuffPost, a third age without rewarding friendships can make us sicker faster and even contribute to an early demise. And if you wait for others to reach out to you, you might find yourself waiting a long time and become disenchanted about those previous relationships and move towards loneliness. Green's article discusses 3 types of friendships: friendships of convenience, friendships that are cosmetic, and interdependent friendships. Friendships of convenience have to do with casual relationships, people you meet and like as a result of proximity, like school, work, clubs, church, and the like. Typically, these relationships operate on a superficial level. Cosmetic relationships are those in which the other person wants you to like them and perceive them as a friend for something, like a salesperson or a banker or an insurance broker. These relationships are transactionally based. Third is the interdependent relationship. According to Green, these are the healthiest relationships where both individuals become vulnerable, sharing burdens and joys, encouraging each other, and typically are long-term. Most people may only have a few friends in their lives that fall into this category. William Chopik, assistant professor of psychology at Michigan State University, completed a study involving over 270,000 people in 100 countries. The study concluded that as we age, healthy friendships can be a stronger contributor to better health as we age. In fact, even stronger than family. So where does this lead us? Well, for me, it speaks to being intentional about my relationships in retirement. We need friendships and human interaction for our own well-being, physically, mentally, and spiritually. One consideration is to make a list of friends whom you enjoy talking with and where you both share mutual benefit. If your list is short, maybe perhaps consider those you know casually that you would like to explore a deeper relationship with. Then take action. Reach out through email, texting, phone conversation, a meal, or an activity. Expect that not all those you reach out to may want to invest in a friendship, though I will expect that probably most will. So where does the term bucket list come from? Well, many of you may remember the 2007 movie with Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicklaus titled The Bucket List. Stories about two terminally ill men on a road trip with a list of things they want to accomplish before they kick the bucket. Well, I believe today we have simply modified the term to mean a list of activities we desire to do that are placed in a wish bucket. A question: what are you interested in learning about? What are you interested in doing in retirement? It's about doing more. It's about exploring and learning. A bucket list may include a balanced approach with consideration given to mental, physical health, social activities, financial well-being, spiritual growth, travel, adventures. By writing down these items in your bucket list, you'll have an opportunity to pick a couple of them each year and experience life. I would encourage you to keep the lid off your bucket list and place new items in it as they come. Many times when I'm asked, when I ask someone about what they plan to do in their time of retirement, the response is, I want to spend more time with my grandchildren. And many of my friends are indeed very engaged with their grandchildren. When there is intention about grandparenting, wonderful things can happen. You are planning time with your grandkids. You are planning experiences with them. You are investing your time to know them deeper and to love them and invest. And that investment is for a lifetime of shared memories and character building that you produce into your grandkids. I often say I enjoy my grandkids a lot more than I enjoyed my kids. And then I ask the question, why? Well, it's because I have more time to be intentional as a grandparent. Taking that step towards retirement may also include redefining many aspects of life and how you choose to manage your health. It's a time of establishing new routines and exercises that can be a significant contributor to good health and well-being. Here are 3 tips for a successful health program in retirement. First is see a doctor and get a physical. This should really be an annual routine for you. I'd also recommend getting a blood panel workup and track the numbers like your cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides, glucose, your rest pulse, your blood pressure, and whatever else you may choose to track. Establishing a baseline will be beneficial as numbers can change as a result of exercise and other good health habits. This is also a good time to review with your doctor which types of exercise may be best suited for you and which ones to avoid. When I retired, I took more notice that my heel was hurting me. I'd been kind of putting up with the mild pain for some time and figured it would eventually just get better. But it didn't. And in early retirement, I saw how it was impacting my ability to exercise, take walks, hikes, and biking. I finally went to a podiatrist, and after a few months of physical therapy and an orthotic on my shoes, the pain finally went away. Another reason for a physical is that there is just something about your guard being down when you retire. My perspective and observation is that some people seem to face major health challenges once they retire, and sometimes within a short time. So get that physical. Number two is choose the types of exercise you'll enjoy the most. There's lots to pick from. You can walk, run, bicycle, go kayaking, lift weights, swim, hike, stretch, and the like. If you're on a medical supplement or HMO program, you might check into which fitness centers and programs are supported and 100% paid for. Many programs like the Silver Sneakers programs are designed for seniors specifically. The World Health Organization recommends that those who are 65 and older plan on at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic activity per week. Third is, what are the benefits of a good exercise program? Well, this is the good stuff. First is what's called autophagy. Now, this is probably the first time you've heard of autophagy. So what is it? Well, it's the cleaning out of damaged proteins so that new proteins can be regenerated by your body. Exercise promotes this activity. From a physical perspective, exercising also promotes bone strength, reduces the risk of illness and chronic disease, reduces the risk of falling through by having better balance, and keeps your gut in check, meaning you're going to be a little more regular. From a mental perspective, you'll have improved sleep, which helps the body produce proteins to aid in better health. Your mood and self-confidence will be improved, and you'll be ready to face another day. One of the joys I've experienced as a retired person is mentoring. It is very fulfilling to give back to others, sharing my life experiences and passing along wisdom to others who take an interest in their own self-development and personal growth. Mentoring opportunities can come along in a couple different ways. Perhaps a very structured way through your church or a professional organization, and maybe in a casual way through relationships and friendships. In my mentoring experience, each relationship can take on different attributes. Some may be more structured, others more casual. One example is a professional young man I'm mentoring on principles of financial management. This conversation is more structured and centers on a personal finance management book as our key source. The relationship has been very enjoyable. Another mentoring relationship has become more like a friendship. Indeed, I would say it is a friendship today. This man, about the same age as I am, lost his wife to cancer. One of his friends at my church connected us up as I was about 30 months ahead of him in having lost my wife. I've experienced, I've learned much through this experience, and I'm confident that as you engage in mentoring, you too will learn. At Cal Poly Pomona, we have an active mentoring program. If you have an interest, please go to the Alumni Association website for more information or contact the Alumni Affairs Office. In fact, I think in the chat area, we'll put down the email addresses for you to find more information, or the link to find more information about the mentoring program at Cal Poly Pomona. Well, we're close to concluding the presentation portion of this seminar. Developing a written plan is a huge step towards realizing a successful and purpose-driven retirement. As a start, just beginning to reflect on this topic is huge. Most people enter into retirement without a plan and kind of figure things out along the way. Many businesses have a corporate strategic plan, a 3 to 5 year plan to take their organization to the next level. My experience in business is that this plan has to be a succinct plan, and the more succinct it is, the better we are at executing it. I think the same applies to your retirement life plan. As I mentioned earlier, I would suggest you have a written plan that is no more than 2 pages long. There is a variety of thought about the structure of the plan. My recommendation is to start out with thought and planning in 5 areas: purpose, friendships, family, health, and hobbies. We've already spoken briefly about each category. Think about 2 or 3 sentences that describe your purpose, your intention, and your contribution. Consider those relationships that you plan to invest in over the course of the coming year. Consider some action steps toward specific family members in strengthening or contributing to those relationships. What steps will you take to manage and even improve your health? And what hobbies, interests, personal development pursuits do you want to engage with over the next year or 2? Write a description of each item and then write a sentence next to them on how to activate that plan. Last, I would suggest you recalibrate your plan every 1 to 2 years as interests do change and new situations do arise. I've listed for you a couple of sources that I found really helpful in developing a retirement life plan. The first is called Retirement Life Plan by Pauline Johnson Zelonka. And the second is a fun book called How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free by Ernie Zielinski, which I think is just full of great ideas. I hope you'll jot down those names and take a look at Amazon and or even perhaps using the online resources, whether it's Kindle or Apple Books, to find these resources and read through them. At this time, I think I want to thank you for your attention and for listening, and I would like to kind of shift gears and see what questions may have popped up. I think Andrea is going to help us with that.
Yeah, so there's not currently any questions in the chat, but if you do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and then I can ask Tom directly.
That's great. I mean, you know, Andrea, maybe I was just so thorough in this presentation, right?
Yeah.
But if you do have some thoughts or questions, I'd sure like to hear them. This is a great time to do that.
Okay, Laurel asks, any thoughts on relocation?
Well, that's really a great question. And a lot of folks, that's one of the first things they think about is, well, I'm getting out of California, or I want to go to another country. I want to live in Costa Rica, where the cost of living is less. And sometimes those are really great options. You know, again, I think it's really a very personal question. For myself, I asked myself the question, well, you know, where would I like to relocate to? And what I realized is that my family is all around me. My network of friends and different groups that I belong to are within a 20-mile radius of where I live. And really, I think uproot all that and relocate to another spot. To me, that isn't satisfying. But I think those are some of the questions you have to ask yourself. What am I giving up if I do relocate? Again, there is kind of I think there might be a perception of, wow, I'd love to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. What a wonderful place. But you are giving up some things when you do relocate. There are times where it makes sense because maybe the financial resources aren't as available. And so you look at a lower cost of living location. Or perhaps you are away from family and you want to be closer to family, so you relocate based on that criteria.
The next question is, any thoughts on financial planning resources?
Well, there are a ton out there. You know, I don't really at this point have any specific recommendations of individuals. I'm not sure that would really be appropriate for me to do at this point. But you know, there are, I think if you use Yelp or you talk to some other friends directly about maybe who they've used as a financial planner, that would be perhaps the best way to go. I know that when I've had individuals ask me specifically in a conversation about who I recommend, you know, I encourage them to take a look at not only who I might give them as a recommendation, but to talk to some other friends about who they utilize on the financial planning side. I think it is important to have a financial plan, and I would encourage you to do that. I think the sooner the better. They do really pay off. But keep in mind, this retirement life plan is just as important to have in place as well.
Next question is, what about planning for unexpected events like COVID or things happening due to climate change?
Yeah, so I think that's that's a part of life, right? I mean, we are going to have things take place. I think the COVID situation is a really good example of kind of having a wrench thrown in things. For me personally, I had planned to do at least one international trip a year. And of course, this year, I have not taken any international trips or really any trips away because of the COVID situation. So what I have been able to do, though, is because I have a plan, there are other areas I want to invest my time in, and I've just shifted some gears towards those areas. I personally have an interest in general aviation. I'm a pilot, and so I've shifted more attention towards flying and doing some charitable type of activities around flying. And of course, I've been able to spend more time on this project, on the Retirement Life Plan project. So, I'm trying to make lemonade here out of this this COVID lemon. And actually, I think it's worked out pretty well. So,
how do you find good senior centers?
boy, that's I really don't have an answer to that question. How to find a good senior center? I would imagine that. I mean, what I would probably do would be to just go down and visit the center and take a look at what they're offering and what the program is. But I really don't have a definitive answer for that one. That's a good question.
How do you feel about early retirement from both financial and purpose-driven perspectives?
That's a great question. And so a couple things to think about. So for me, I was 63 when I retired. So that's considered early retirement. And I had been planning my retirement for a few years prior to that. So it kind of fell in line. For me personally, I felt it was time from a career standpoint and a personal standpoint to make that change. There are, for some people, they may want to work until they're 70 or 75, and that's totally fine too. I mean, it really is a personal question that you have to answer for yourself. One of the benefits of retiring early, if you're able to and have the financial resources lined up, is that you will probably have more time to enjoy some travel. There are some folks who say that if you want to do some traveling, you'll want to plan that in the earlier part of your retirement, because as you do get older, maybe into your 80s or 90s, it becomes more difficult to deal with the hustle and bustle of traveling. So, but back to your original question, it's really a personal question, and I think one that you kind of have to answer for yourself.
So the next question is, please provide your views on easing into retirement, maybe by retiring and working part-time for a while afterward.
That's another great strategy, and a lot of people will do that. They will just begin to back down on their commitments, maybe working part-time, maybe changing their career and into another area that they, so that they can retire. They're financially able to do that, but they maybe want to start another career, but not a full-time type career. And they've done that. Some people have decided to start a small business that they can run on a part-time basis out of their home. Or maybe they rent a space from a friend that has a business. I think it's a great idea. Again, it's all very personal. I think as you look at what your picture of retirement is, you can incorporate that transition into it. It's intentional and it's thoughtful, which is the most important thing. But on the other hand, you may decide to go in, all the way and say, I'm going to, stop my job. I'm now free to do what I want to do, and I'm going to pursue my purpose in life.
Did you share your retirement plans with your staff and coworkers well ahead of your exit? If so, did they treat you differently?
So I did not do that. I felt that was really kind of a personal matter that was really just between me and my family. So I didn't do that. There may have been one or two very close friends that I shared it with to get their perspective and their thoughts. And in fact, one of the references I have on the screen, that How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free, came from a close friend of mine who also was looking at their retirement in the near future, and so he recommended this book to me. So I didn't really open it up that far. That is one thing that does, at least I've seen it, I've observed it, and I've experienced it, that as a person gets closer to retirement age, there are people that are going to ask you, so when do you plan to retire? And my response was, I think when I'm ready, I'm going to retire.
Next question is, to follow up on senior centers, what is your personal plan for later retirement, if you don't mind sharing? Would you recommend long-term care insurance?
Well, I think, again, that depends upon maybe advice you would get from your financial planner, whether you should look at long-term care insurance. I know a lot of them will take a look at family history and help make a determination based on that, and also your financial position. There are 3 stages of retirement that people do talk about. The first stage is the energetic stage. Typically, the first 10 years of retirement, maybe ages 65 to 75. Now these do move around a little bit depending upon a person's health and so on. And this is where you're very active. The next stage is 75 to about 85, which is kind of called the deceleration stage. It's where you're starting to feel a little more tired and just don't have the same level of energy. So you kind of back down on some of the physical activities. But and sometimes this means too, you're shifting your purpose around a little bit and how you're fulfilling that purpose. And then of course the very last stage of retirement is above 85, where in many cases you may experience more health-related issues, things that are going to really have an impact on your mobility, maybe even your mental health. And this is also typically where long-term care kind of fits in, having a plan for that. So again, I think to your question about where to go for help with that, I would encourage you to go to a financial planner for their opinion and their advice in that area.
Okay, I just wanted to mention Ines Bryan did leave a comment about a senior center question. She said all LA senior centers are closed at the moment. Some are better than others, depending on city or administration. Check online. Some have very active online activities and information. So thank you for sharing that. And then we did get a request to do a poll, but unfortunately, I'm not able to do that while I'm on the call. So we're not able to set up a poll at this time. Does anyone have any last minute questions that they want Tom to answer?
All right, well, I just want to thank you very much for your time and your attention. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today about this, I think, very important topic. I hope that you've gotten a few nuggets of truth out of it, and some food for thought, and that as time goes on, you'll work and develop your own personal retirement life plan. So thank you very much, and hopefully look forward to seeing some of you in the future.
Thank you, Tom. Good night.
Thank you.